The Mr. Beacon podcast is sponsored by Wiliot, scaling IoT with battery-free Bluetooth.
Welcome to the Mr. Beacon podcast. We're back here in Helsinki at the Quuppa Partner Conference, and I'm with Alessio Cucini of BlueUp. Alessio, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you to you for the invitation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are one of the few Bluetooth beacon makers in Italy. I don't know if there's anyone else.
The only one in Italy. Yeah.
Very good. And so you've got an excellent geographic position, and I've heard a lot about you guys. And you're obviously a Quuppa partner, but you, I'm sure, sell a lot of beacons that are used with other systems as well. How did you get into the beacon business?
Okay, we are in the beacon business maybe from the really beginning, about in the 2014. We launched a new company, BlueUp, that was BlueUp, and we have some ideas about Bluetooth Low Energy to use for some application. And in that period, the iBeacon technology was coming out, and so we decided to jump on that train. And so we start by, we have an hardware background, so we are very skilled in designing hardware and wireless devices. So we started with our first model of beacon, and then everything is going faster and faster because the market requests us more and more features, more and more models, and so now we are, I think, a well-established actor in the beacon scenario. We have a wide catalog of models. We have been certified for both iBeacon. We have the full support for Eddystone, and from a couple of years we cooperate with Quuppa for supporting their technology and for both emulation tags and for both Quuppa-ready tags. And this is the reason why we are here in Helsinki.
And what was it that brought you into the Quuppa fold? Was there a project, or did you just think it was a good idea?
We were involved by a Quuppa partner at the time, an Italian Quuppa partner that asked us if we have Quuppa tags. We didn't have, but we customized one of our models for them, and starting from that collaboration, we increased our work and our activity in that direction. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about the beacon market in Italy. Who can you talk about specific customers, or in general terms, your customers?
Okay, our customers are widespread on many markets, from museums to retail to industry, services, and so on. In the very beginning of beacon market, the most appealing markets were in the retail, mainly for proximity marketing and so on. But from about 1 year and a half, 2 years, we are experiencing more and more interest in the industry, where industry, it means both logistics, manufacturing, warehouse management, services, where the localization information is important to manage the processes and the activities inside the plant and inside the company. And nowadays, I think that the large majority of our beacons are supplied for this kind of markets, so industry and services. While we have seen a certain reduction, or not a reduction, but a certain the level is not so increasing so much in the retail. We have still a market in museums and entertainment that's quite stable, but there is a great, huge increase in the industrial applications.
Really? And we were talking earlier in the conference about the difference between beacons and tags, and at a hardware level they may be very similar, but beacons are stationary and you use those for proximity and location, and tags move around. You attach them to things.
Yes, but essentially are the same objects. It's just a matter of the name you use, because beacon's name comes from the navigation word,
Yes.
While the tag name comes from the RFID and identification word. But essentially are the same objects that periodically advertise its unique name. And clearly, if you put it fixed somewhere, it identifies a position. But if you put attached to a person or to an asset, it identifies that person, that assets that is moving around in a certain environment. But essentially, it's practically the same hardware, the same functionality. It's just a matter of how you use it.
Yeah, maybe the form factor tags. People might want something that's a little smaller. And for a beacon, then maybe they're prepared to have bigger. Some AA batteries or whatever.
This is a certain impact on the size.
Yeah.
Because fixed beacon usually you want to last many years, so you have to use larger batteries. You can fix on the walls, so you never mind about the sides. While if you have to wear a beacon, clearly it must be compact and lightweight and so on. But internally it is the same piece of hardware.
It's the same chip at the center of it all. So if you kind of look at your sales, what proportion would you say is being driven by tag purchases as opposed to beacon purchases?
Okay, I think that nowadays it's about 1/2 and 1/2.
Oh, really?
So more,
okay.
Yes. We have seen that the tag application is increasing much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in the near future maybe we will be dominant, because we see that there are many industries, many markets where beacons or tags, whatever, how do you want to call it, are used as active identifiers, wireless identifiers.
Yeah.
You can identify a forklift in a warehouse. You can identify your guest in your plant. But there is a huge interest in this kind of use of beacons.
That's good. So tell us a bit more about your company. How many people?
Okay, our company is pretty small, so we are very focused on this technology. So we are at present 4 people, fixed staff, plus several collaborators and suppliers that for us are not suppliers but partners, because when we develop products we strictly cooperate with them. And at present our large market share is European, about 80-90%, and we have also customers in the Middle East, in the Central America, and some customers also in the Far East. And the next jump will be for us to start selling in the US, where at present we are not still present, and I think it will be very important for us, for our company to address this new market.
And flesh out a little bit more information about your product range. So you said you had a diverse set of products. You've got gateways, I understand, and you have different sizes of beacons. How much do you get involved in the software, the back end, the fleet management, or do you stay away from that?
Yeah. Essentially, we internally design all the components of our systems, from the firmware to the hardware design and software for the gateways, and also we have designed a back-end platform for managing beacons fleets, where our customers can check the status of the beacon, for example the battery status, can update the beacon by remote using gateways, for instance. So you can with a click change the settings of your beacons that are installed, for example 100 or 1,000 kilometers away from your headquarters. And so we have a quite complete stack of components from the hardware level up to the backend management system. What we don't offer is the application layer, which is typically managed by our customers, because sometimes beacons are used for museums, sometimes they're used for retail, sometimes for industry. So there are very specific requirements that usually are built up on our platform.
So you're operating in a very challenging market. There's a lot of people who've tried to do what you do and not done so well. Some of them have gone out of business fairly recently. It sounds like you're seeing fairly healthy level of business. How do you compete with the Polish beacon vendors and all the other folks that are the landscape of probably hundreds of companies that are making beacons?
There are a lot of companies, a lot of big companies in this market. So clearly, our strategy is to compete, finding niches of market where we can provide the best product for that specific applications. And we have some features that, for example, other competitors does not have. We support not only iBeacon and Eddystone, but also the Quuppa technology, which is very important in our view for many applications in the real-time locating system market. This is a feature that can we are, I think, a couple or three companies around the world that we have. And another service that we do is the customization of our products. So clearly, there is no one beacon that can solve every problem. So every day we get emails from customers or potential customers that would like to have a specific beacon with specific functionalities. And clearly this is our one of our strengths, is the ability and the capability to address this kind of problems.
Very good. And I'd love to get your views on where the market is going, what your predictions for the future are. But before we go there, let me just ask you about some of the other standards you support. So you're saying iBeacon, you support Eddystone. I remember seeing you were one of the few vendors that supported all the different aspects. How are you seeing the adoption of Eddystone? I always felt like Google just did so much more in terms of their support of beacon use cases than Apple did. Apple had iBeacon, it's very limited, it's still a 1.0 standard. They've got everything from kind of telemetry packets and physical web and encryption and registry management features, GATT interfaces. Are people using Eddystone?
Okay, clearly iBeacon is still maybe the dominant technology on the market. For the reason is this was the first one, and the other main reason is that it's natively supported by Apple phones. But we are seeing an increasing interest in the Eddystones, which is especially related to the nearby or physical web world. We have a lot of customers in Italy, but also around Europe, that are focusing on this kind of market, on this kind of applications, and typically they use Eddystone URL or Eddystone EID, and we see that for that kind of market, Eddystone maybe is dominant, while for other standard markets such as identification or standard proximity applications, I think that iBeacon is still the first technology on the market.
And we were talking about this earlier, but I think it's worth me asking you on camera. What's your sense of the proportion of customers that go for encryption? Some kind of, because you have your own proprietary encryption mechanism. You've got Eddystone ephemeral ID. What proportion of customers go for that versus just having a static ID?
We have the full support for the Eddystone technology, including the ephemeral ID. It's been almost 1 year that we have this kind of feature. But at present, we have the large majority of our customers do use the static packet format that can be iBeacon or Eddystone. We have some customers that require encryption, but for some specific application. For example, we have a customer that use encrypted packets to enable in-app payments in petrol stations. So they want to be want to be a secure and trusted localization of the customer inside the petrol station. So in that case, it was very critical to have an encrypted packet format. But in the large majority of cases, I see that the customers still require a static packet format.
Very good. So Alessio, we talked a bit about the shift to enterprise. Any other views on where the ecosystem is going, the beacon ecosystem?
Well, I think that the beacon system is in a very enthusiastic phase. So there are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of projects that are starting. For example, we have projects in markets that we didn't ever think about in the past, and so I think that there are huge opportunities for this market, and there are many NICs and many also specific applications where the beacons will be a dominant technology. For example, locating system and the event where we are now, it's one of the more important, I think, in this sector, is a market and a kind of application where beacons will be one of the key technology in the coming future. Clearly, because they're very simple, are very cheap, can be interfaced directly with phones, and so it's a technology where will be used beacons. And I still think that the industrial application will be the primary market for beacons and tags in the future, because there are a lot of applications where beacons can be used, from safety to security to process management, for asset tracking and identifications, people identification, guest identification, and so on. So I think that in that specific market, beacons will be the dominant technology in the upcoming years.
Very good. Well, on that note, Alessio Cucini, Managing Director of BlueUp, thanks very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Steve. Thank you very much to you. Thank you.
If you were on a space trip to Mars, which 3 songs would you take with you? So for whatever reason, there's a limitation of 3 songs. And this has got nothing to do with Bluetooth beacons, and it's just kind of a tradition we have. Everyone that we interview, we ask this question. I've interviewed over 70 people. So I'm sorry to hit you with this at the last moment, but if you can think of 3 songs that you like that you might take on a long journey, what would those be?
Okay. I don't know if I can mention 3 songs. Maybe three groups. It's okay.
That's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
For sure. U2. It was the group of my youth.
Really?
Yeah. And then I put there Beatles for sure.
Yes.
And The Who.
The Who?
Yes,
I love The Who too.
I love the Tommy album.
Okay, well if it was 2 of us going to Mars, we'd get on well, because I like all 3 of those choices. Very good. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay.